All right, everybody, it's spring here on our remote Alaskan homestead, and for us, that means it's time to get back to work. This is our first summer on the property, and it's shaping up to be our busiest season yet. Everything here needs to be built from the garden to the greenhouse, which is a big help when gardening here in Alaska. Today, we're diving into a huge project. We're going to be repurposing some materials from our old barn to build a high tunnel. Plus, we'll be starting our seeds, which will help sustain us through the long winter. There's a lot to do, and I'm going to get to it. Okay, we made it. I'm going to start pulling these little wings off here. We're going to save this part of the barn. This part of the barn I couldn't save. There was a lot of rot in both of these beams. I'm going to save these archways, and I'll use them as a center to our greenhouse on both sides. Just put some hoops over it, and that'll make a nice high tunnel. And this has probably been exposed to the elements for the better part of 10 years, and no one's done anything with it. So we'll save what we can, and we'll repurpose the rest. Missing something. That's what I'm missing. There it goes. Yeah. Okay, these 2x6s are nailed in, so I'm just gonna hit them with the back of my maul and, try not to damage them too much. It's all right if I do. Bottoms are a little rotten on them, so I'll just cut it off with the skill saw when I go to use them. Pitch these 2x10s off the back. That's it. Okay, that will do it for now. I'm gonna run home, get lunch, and then I'll come back and we'll start hauling some of these materials home. We'll get them all organized, we'll stack them on pallets, and then I'm gonna get into working on my other barn a little, and we'll start reassembling this thing the second the ground's clear. All right, quick lunch, then back to work. Can't go wrong with bacon. Another awesome lunch. I'm gonna get back to work. Bye, Anatolian. Okay, we got one load there. We'll come back for one more and that should be it. Then we can start into the next project. Okay, that's all the materials there for the center section of our greenhouse. We'll build it about 22 foot long by 11 foot wide. We'll throw some hoops over it and throw some poly on it. I have an old door kicking around under the house, I believe. We'll put a vent on the other side of it and we'll have ourselves a decent high tunnel. All right, on to the next thing. With the mark. Keep the building from shifting around too much. Like that, perfect. See what I'm doing. Okay, cool. That's good enough for now. I'm gonna go ahead, put my stuff back in this garage here, and then we'll go get to starting our seeds.
It's our hooligan net.
These are the nets I'm excited for. I don't really like hooligan that much.
So Barry has become pretty much a free-range goat. When we are outside, we just let her roam around. She follows us, and then if not, we tie her up. Or Lena walks her, but we are still waiting on her fence. So that's one thing about living remote is the nearest feed store, which is about 3-ish hours away, does not have any electric fencing in stock. So they said to order it would take months from their supplier. So we went ahead and ordered one off Amazon, which is not here yet. So hopefully it will be soon. And we will be adding our second dairy goat, who is a mini Nubian. We're very excited about that, and she's gonna be here pretty soon. We're waiting for her to be weaned from her babies, so Strawberry will have a buddy.
More like the greatest playground ever.
The woods?
Yeah.
All right, so it is seed starting time in Alaska. And Dennis and I were both lucky enough to grow up with families who had big gardens, who fed their families with that garden. And so we both have a really deep love of gardening and starting seeds. And you don't need a whole bunch to start these seeds. So my grandfather, for instance, started his seeds in a windowsill and then in a cold frame, and they were always beautiful. So we have some just generic shop lights here. We have found over years and years, and having our agricultural business in Maine, the best bang for your buck are those T5 lights. Not to say there isn't better lights out there. You can go for LEDs and whatnot, but T5s are pretty good for starting seeds. These are not T5s. These are just generic shop lights. I think they're T8s or T12s. But we had them, so we used them, and they will work just fine as well. So we are gonna put our seeds here right next to these big windows where they will get a good bit of light, and then we will supplement that with these lights over here. So there's a lot of different ways people start their seeds, and everyone has their own kind of method. For us, and what we really like to do is we like to start our seeds under T5s. Heat mats help because it gives that taproot something to reach for. It warms the soil. One thing to keep in mind with a heat mat is that with that soil warming, you don't want that soil getting overly hot, and it will dry it out faster. So you want to keep an eye on them for that. But we like to start it with these lights or T5s. Put a heat mat under there if you have it. You don't need a heat mat. And then we like Pro Mix for soil or something that isn't super loaded with nutrients, because these are baby little seedlings. They're not going to take a whole bunch of nutrients, and you don't want to burn them. So when that taproot emerges and that germination happens, you don't want it going into super hot soil because it will burn the taproot and it will kill the seedling. So we like to take a 5-gallon bucket, just like this here, fill it with our Pro Mix, and then we will take water and we will not drench the soil, but we will just kind of lightly moisten the whole thing and work it through with our hands. And we do that for a couple different reasons. One, I want to get all those clumps in the soil out. I don't want my taproot hitting a dry clump of soil, and I want to make sure that soil is all evenly moist. So we like to tell that if you take a handful of soil, kind of squeeze it, and it bounces back, it just doesn't kind of pack. That's a good moisture for your soil. If you are using native soil or your own soil from your garden, a good thing to do is get it tested. That is what we are doing with our garden here. We are sending a sample up to the University of Fairbanks to see what we are working with this garden soil, because this is our first year gardening at this homestead, and we're really excited, but we want to make it a good one. So we're going to test, I think, all 4 corners of our garden space and see what we got going on. So we will fill our trays with our nice moist soil, and when I put these under my lights, the idea with the lights is that they are close enough to the seedlings that those seedlings don't have to stretch and get leggy to reach that light, but they're not too close that they will burn them. So there is a sweet spot to the light, and it's usually about 6 to 12 inches above the tops of the plants, but you have to adjust that accordingly as the plant grows. One thing that is helpful just for air circulation is a little fan, because that fan will blow the seedlings around. It'll make them stronger as they stand up in the air, and it will also help keep pests, mold, mildew away from those seedlings, making a healthier plant, and ultimately a healthy plant's going to produce more. So that's another good add-in. Some of the most lush, beautiful, problem-free gardens we have ever grown was on spring water, wild water. Plants really like it, we have found, and that is what we're going to be using this year too. So a lot of our varieties, our turnips, our beets, our chards, our spinach, lettuces, all those are going to be direct sown. For the things we do and are going to start, we will start here in the house, and then when we transplant them, when they outgrow these little containers, we will transplant them into larger pots, usually doing so in the morning, ideally when the plants are dry, and then we will water with a little humic acid to help with that transplant shock. So that's one of the things we do. We also like to mix teas because soil microbes really love unsulfurized molasses or honey. So we will show you our tea mixes too and how we do that when the garden gets a little bit bigger. But we're gonna start here with these lights. Ideally, you'd go for more of a blue spectrum light because that encourages root growth and it mimics the spring light. We are still, unfortunately, waiting on some of our medicinal seeds. So we are going to be starting those as well in the house. But we're going to start with these. We have our nice Pro Mix all nice and moist in here. So let's get to starting some seeds. Try cabbage. So we are going to start with a little cabbage. We have Golden Acre and Ruby Perfection, both varieties that grow well in Alaska.
Brussels sprouts away. I love Brussels sprouts. I've seen your grandfather cover his in leaves. Like he builds things around them, fills them with leaves and grow them right into like late November. Start right there. So that's about 4 inches off it, which is far too low. How's that? How's it looking?
That's good. The onion.
Wanna try?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Just like that and kind of wiggle it around.
That's
See,
gonna be the
like
baby
that one?
seeds home.
Good job. Right there.
Can I grab one?
Here, I'm gonna put them in your palm. Perfect. Yes, ma'am. Good job. Let me do the next one here. Or just basil seeds. And then one up here.
Very lightly, so we don't want to smush them in so they can't come out of their home. We're just gonna take this and go like this. Just kind of cover them
Can I
in.
try?
This is
Yeah.
so much fun.
That's
I did more than one. You're right, Lena. You got a good eye.
Good job.
I'm gonna be a gardener when I grow up.
And then that one.
Nice.
Oh, look how pretty these are, honey. They got stripes on them. You see?
Yeah.
Here. Good. And then one over here.
Okay, good job, Lane. High five.
All right, well, these are done and on their way. Hopefully we have some good germination rates. We are still waiting on some seeds for the medicine garden that we'll be starting indoors as well. And then of course, we're gonna be direct sowing quite a bit in the garden too. So these are just a little bit of what's gonna be going in there. We did not have any plant tags, so we just wrote the kinds of seeds that are in each on there, and we'll just be mindful when we take the tops off and eventually get some tags for them. But we're excited to get this going and pretty hungry, so we're gonna go make dinner. All right, so we are gonna make some salmon patties for dinner. We are just gonna do them super simple. We don't have any fresh herbs and or onions on us right now, so we're just gonna do dill, salt, pepper, a little bit of dried onion flakes, an egg from the hens, and some cream cheese, and then we're gonna pop them on some fresh sourdough. One of our favorite things to make when it is salmon season is salmon roe patties. So taking the eggs from the salmon instead of meat and making them into a patty. It is so good, and the roe is an absolute superfood. It is packed with good things for you. What do you think, Bert? You want a little? Bert, come. Might take a couple rounds. We are gonna try this batch of ginger fermented carrots that we made a little while ago. These are really good if your stomach is upset. They have probiotics in it, but also that ginger really helps. So we love ginger fermented carrots. There we go.
delicious.
That's great. Salmon patties are my absolute favorite food. They're good. Very gingery.
Excited to see how this batch came out of these. Really good.
Delicious, Mama.
Okay guys, that's the end of this one. We hope you enjoyed watching and we'll see you again next week.